When things feel uncertain, most people start asking the same questions. What skills should I learn? What business should I start? That reaction makes sense, but it usually creates more pressure, not less. In this episode, we're going to slow that down and look at something that most people overlook, what you already have that creates value before you try to become someone new. This episode challenges a deeply held belief: I need to become someone new. The real method: finding your hidden K ability without learning anything new. In the last episode, we identified where you are in the journey, and that context matters more than most people realize. Contents: what we'll cover: the hidden value discovery problem, why most people start wrong, the real method framework, and your timeline bypass. Let's start here. Before you ask ChatGPT what business to start or spend another dollar on courses, answer this: what can you do on a bad day that others struggle with on their best day? The hidden value discovery problem. Here's what happens after layoffs. A lot of people panic. They go to YouTube or ChatGPT or other platforms and try to find that next thing. They ask, what business should I start? What skills should I learn? They start scrambling and grasping for anything that makes them feel like they have a certain level of control. They want to be able to show that they're making some sort of progress in a moment where it feels like there's no progress and they're just backsliding. When we feel like we're in a situation where we have no power, we look for ways to regain that power. After layoffs, people don't stop moving. They just move towards anything that feels like control. The internet tells them, learn how to use AI, start a business, become a content creator or an influencer, build a personal brand, monetize your opinion or experience, regardless of your expertise. Here's the thing: none of these are wrong, but what they are missing is context. And context means the world when you're in a situation where you not only have to be able to figure out what your next move is, but you don't have a lot of time to figure it out. And it's not something that's strictly internal. There are people that are in our lives that we have to be able to explain it to. If you have a partner and you're unemployed and they have to pick up the slack while you're trying to figure out what your next move is going to be, you're going to need to be able to explain to them what your plan is and how you figure out how to be able to get back to that status quo, back to being able to either be the breadwinner or be the person that is able to contribute in a way that is significant enough so that all the pressure doesn't feel like it's on them. Learn how to use AI to start a business. Definitely something that can be done. But you want to make sure that if it is something that you're venturing into, is it something that you can be paid for now? And is it something that you can be competitive in? Become a content creator or an influencer. This is a pathway that takes time. People don't just naturally start building out content or influencing people about content unless they've already had somewhat of a following and a personal brand. So if you're monetizing your opinion or experience, regardless of how much expertise that you have, sometimes it's not about how well you know something, it's about how well you can explain it and how well you can make sure that other people understand it. So sometimes that can take time. And the reality is, when you start trying to learn something new, it can take 3 to 6 months. And if it doesn't take that time to learn, it may take that much time for people to be able to find you and be able to appreciate what it is that you're doing, because it's not something where you just do it once and people will automatically say, that's the person that I want to pay. Sometimes they need to see it more over time. Realistically, from a customer standpoint and customer journey, it takes 7 to 12 touch points. There's no time frame on how long it takes for someone to be able to find you, feel like they've seen your information, 7 to 12 times before they feel like they know enough about you and they trust you enough to be able to invest in whatever it is that you offer. Here's why that fails for a lot of people. Starting from scratch means there's a learning curve. It takes time that you don't have. No credibility. Why should someone hire you? No case studies. You can't prove all of the things that you're saying that you can deliver. And then one of the most important ones, you're competing with people who have done this thing for years. So you don't have 5 years when your bills are due next month. That's the context that's missing from a lot of these people that say, well, all you have to do is, and you can learn this in a quick amount of time, because you actually have to not just make sure that you can validate the idea, you have to validate your ability to be paid and seen as someone that people are willing to pay. And that's the caveat. That's the context that's missing when you get this type of advice of just go start AI, go be a content creator or an influencer, and some of the other things that you may see online from people making it sound easier than it actually is, especially for people that are laid off and they're trying to scramble to figure out how to be able to pay their bills. If you're still employed, what happens when job security is in question? People start asking, am I next? People feel exposed, even with a paycheck. People feel the pressure to get out ahead of it. People explore options and seek to regain control and stability. Let's start again from the beginning. People start asking, am I next? If you've ever been in a situation where you've seen people get laid off and it wasn't based on job performance, it was based on the business needing to be able to do what it has to do to maintain or whatever other decision they came up with. Sometimes you don't get an explanation, and sometimes the explanation just isn't good. But if you've ever been in that situation or you've seen it enough times, you have to start looking at, and it's a natural reaction to ask, am I next? People feel exposed even with the paycheck. If you've been in that situation before, you realize it's not always based on job performance. It's based on who they feel like they can afford to lose without taking that much of a step back, without taking a real hit as a business. People feel the pressure to get out ahead of it. When you start to see these things, one of the natural reactions is, okay, well, how do I avoid being one of those people? Or how do I get out ahead of it if I could potentially be one? And that's where people start looking for another job. They start trying to figure out what they can do to be able to maintain that check. In some cases, people stop spending as much. They start to scale back. Scaling back is something that may give you a little bit more runway, but it doesn't actually fix the problem. People explore options and seek to regain control and stability. It's a natural reaction, but the reality is when stability feels uncertain, exploration turns into reaction. And not every action requires a reaction. Sometimes you want to be able to think things through, be intentional about it, and have a clear plan before you take an action. Because what you're really talking about is a reaction. And that reaction is just reacting to something that you're seeing without having a plan. Here's why that fails. Common mistakes when employed people panic. Um, they stay in wait and see mode with no backup plan. Well, I mean, it's happening to other people. It's not happening to me. Maybe I won't be one of the people that happens to. And then if it does, it's like, oh crap, I got to figure out what I'm going to do now. And it creates that sense of urgency when you could have started putting plans in place. You could have started figuring out what some of the options are and put yourself in a better position to be able to manage in what feels like an uncontrollable situation. They quietly disengage instead of preparing intentionally. Sometimes you can see things happening in an office and it's just, you know what? I'm not even going to look at it. I'm not even going to, I just can't deal with it. I'm just going to focus on what I need to be able to do. And in those situations, people aren't just being laid off, they're being evaluated. And what they're looking for is who are the people that we can afford to let go and who are the people that don't fit in the new direction that we're going. If you quietly disengage, sometimes you're almost raising your hand and saying, you know what, I don't like where I see things going. And that's something that could potentially put you on a chopping block. Chasing trendy paths without understanding the runway. This goes back to the gurus and the people that are out there that say all you have to do is, and they make pathways seem easier than they are, but they don't necessarily give you the context of how long it would take for you to get up to speed to where these people are that believe that it's easier than it is for people that are just starting down that. Starting something new without leveraging existing strengths means that it's going to take you more time. You're going to have that learning curve, and you may not have the time to really be able to do that. And it doesn't necessarily guarantee that it's going to be the best thing for you to be able to do. Sometimes we can be really good at something, but it not be the most marketable skill that we have. So none of these choices are wrong. They just compound risk over time. Why most people start wrong. They confuse learning with recognizing. Learning is acquiring new skills that take time. Recognizing is seeing what you already have and you do naturally. Natural abilities are the things you can do without thinking on a bad day and that others find difficult. When you're in a pinch, it's not time to learn something new. It's time to recognize the things that you can do and start leveraging that so that you can buy yourself time if you really want to be able to learn something new and go in a different direction. Examples of natural abilities. You can explain complex things simply. You organize chaos into systems. You spot problems before they become a crisis. You calm people down in tense situations. You see patterns others miss. These aren't hobbies, these are marketable skills. If you're able to take something that seems complicated and explain it in a way that others can understand it, and not just understand it, repeat it back to someone else and sound smart when they do it, that's a skill set. That's a marketable thing that you can have people pay you for. That's why we have a lot of people that are coaches. That's why there are a lot of people that, I mean, let's be honest, that's how there are a lot of educators. What's the saying? If you can't do, teach. There are people that know how to explain something that's very complex in a simple way that empowers other people to be able to do the things that that person may not be able to do. They may just be able to understand it in a way that they can explain it, even if they can't do it themselves. You can organize chaos into systems. Sometimes things seem like a mess, but because of your organizational skills, you're able to say, well, here's the problem. If you systemize things, if you do this first, then this removes this obstacle, and then you can get to this thing, and then you can get to this thing, and then you can get to this thing. So your ability to be able to break things down and then put them back together in a way that makes sense is creating and organizing something so that it can be systematized. You spot problems before they become a crisis. Preventative measures is something that's drastically underrated. When you can identify a problem before it becomes something that could be costly, then that's something that people that are really trying to protect their reputation and have more to lose will actually pay you for it. And they may pay you handsomely because they understand how much it would cost to be able to correct what went wrong. So one of the things that I highlight to people that have this skill is damage control doesn't rule out damage. So just because you're able to try to repair some of the damage that's been done by a mistake or something slipped through the cracks and you run into that problem, it doesn't mean that it never happened. It means that it's something that you want to make sure it never happens again. These are different things that people definitely would pay for. It's just a matter of finding the right people that are willing to pay enough for you to be able to maintain. You calm people down in tense situations. You see patterns others miss. These two normally go hand in hand because if you see patterns that others miss, if you've seen things before, then you're able to be that calm in a storm that can calm people down in tense situations. Listen, this isn't the worst thing in the world. I've seen versions of this before. This is potential ways that this could play out. If you notice, all of these things start to go hand in hand, and all of these things are things that are based on experiences, past experiences, things that we've learned along the way. And because we have that firsthand, secondhand, third-hand experience, and we've seen it, and we've seen it play out, we're able to explain or describe what it looks like and come up with solutions and leverage things that we've been able to experience to be able to show people how to avoid it becoming something bigger than it needs to be. The right question. Let's start with the wrong question. What do I need to learn? When you're at a time crunch, what you need to learn is something that should come after. How do I stop the bleeding? How do I make sure that I'm able to maintain where I'm at right now without backsliding any more than I already have? When you're seeking control, learning something new isn't always the best thing. When you're seeking control and things feel like you're in the midst of chaos and you don't want to backslide, sometimes the best thing that you can do is leverage the things that you already know and identify what people are willing to pay you for those things. Going in a new direction is not going to help you in that situation. It's just going to take longer for those people to acknowledge that you have that skill set, you have that experience, and that it's something that they can pay you for. If you're leveraging what you already know, then you have your experience, your expertise, and all of these different examples that you can fall back on and you can convey as a reason for people to pay you. The real method framework. The real method framework is recognize your natural abilities, evaluate the impact and market demand, apply your skills in real situations, and leverage them into a business model. Let's unpack each one. Recognize what you do without thinking. Sometimes it's easier for other people to be able to highlight some of these things than to look internally. Some people may say, well, I'm really great at this, but it's their ego and it's not necessarily their reality. They may think they're great at it, but if they ask someone in their lives, they're like, you're good, but I don't know that people are going to pay you what you think they're going to pay you because you know how to be able to do that. Ask people you know, what do I make look easy? What do people always ask me for help with? When things go sideways, what role do I naturally take? These are some of the lead-in questions that will help you start down that path of identifying your natural abilities. Evaluate. Does it have commercial value? Not everything you're good at is marketable. This is where you want to be able to test. Do people already pay for this? You want to check. Do businesses hire for this skill? And you want to validate. Would solving this problem be worth $500 to $2,000? I'm giving this range because more than not, anyone that's been on unemployment knows there's a cap to how much you can get, and it's normally a fraction of what your paycheck was. And when you've been laid off, you have to be able to fill the void of what that check was because a lot of what you were doing was based on knowing that you're going to have that money uh, biweekly. You knew that you're going to have a certain amount of money every month. You may have a car note. You may have expenses where you're paying for your child's tuition or anything like that. There's a certain level of expectations and a lifestyle you built on knowing that you had a certain amount of income coming in. Scaling back is something where you can kind of stretch out how long you're able to use the money that you have in your savings or what have you, but it doesn't take away from the fact that you have to replace that income. So finding something that has commercial value that people are willing to pay for, that you specifically can do and they will hire you, that's going to be something that's worthwhile. And that $500 to $2,000 is normally going to cover the basic bills that people may have. And if you can get someone that can pay you $500 or $2,000 or more, then it's going to be enough where you can either get one person or multiple people to be able to kick in on those bills that you have. And that's going to allow you to be able to buy yourself more time and some leverage. Let's take a look at a real example. An IT professional leveraging the consulting bridge. Natural abilities identified. Troubleshooting complex technical issues. Translating tech problems to non-tech people. Building systems that prevent recurring issues. When you can translate something into something that seems simple, or you can at least explain it to someone that doesn't have expertise in whatever it is that you're doing, that's going to be valuable. We talked about it. If you're someone on the tech side and you're able to say, you're running into this problem because, and if you do this, this will keep this from happening over and over again. That's something that's valuable to a small business. You're teaching them how to be able to avoid things that can end up being costly. Because when you're working with a small business or when you're a small business owner, every error is magnified because you're dealing with people that probably value you based on the fact that they have that personal relationship. And they're saying, I could have paid more and had less risk, but I'm going with you because I believe in you. And I wanted to be able to still get the same quality without going with that bigger brand. So small businesses struggle with IT support. They can't afford full time staff, and they need reliable people that can explain things simply. So in this situation, if someone was laid off as an IT professional, these are three different things that they're able to leverage. They can troubleshoot complex technical issues. They can translate tech problems to non-tech people, and they can build systems that prevent those recurring issues from happening. If you're able to do that, then you're putting yourself in a position where you can talk to multiple businesses. There are more small businesses than there are large businesses. And if you can show them the value that you're able to bring that helps them grow, scale, or avoid problems, then you bring value. Let's take a look at summary and next steps. Key takeaways. Before choosing a path, consider what you bring to it. I think there's a lot of people that hear about these shiny new trending things, but they don't necessarily think about what they bring to the table for those pathways. And if you're not able to bring something that differentiates you from people that are already in that field and may have more experience than you, then you're walking into a room full of people that already know each other, and you're trying to figure out how you're going to be able to stand out. Natural abilities create leverage without requiring reinvention. When you can leverage things that you already know how to be able to do, things that are gifts, things that you can do better than other people on a bad day, and they can't do it on their best day, and you have examples of how you've been able to do it, then that gives you your sales pitch. That gives you the way to be able to explain what makes you special, why people should invest in your ability to be able to solve a problem for them that would take them longer or trial and error to be able to correct. Use the real method: recognize, evaluate, apply, and leverage. And then there's recognition. Recognition comes before risk, urgency, and execution. If you can recognize the situation that you're in, be it unemployment or being employed, and you're starting to see layoffs, then you understand what the situation is and you can start to plan things out. How much time do I have? If someone's laying you off, then you want to be able to say, well, how many checks am I going to get before I have to start leaning on unemployment? That gives you enough time to start planning and mapping out, okay, well, based on what you're saying, I can live the way that I've been living, the current lifestyle, for a month, 2 months, based on what I put aside. Some people are able to have more savings and they're able to stretch that out for longer. But that tells you how long you have just maintaining the status quo. But then after that, you have to figure out, okay, how am I going to replace the revenue that I'm missing? And this is what this conversation has been about: identifying your natural abilities that will help you be able to accomplish that. Next steps. I invite you to download the Real Method Workbook. It's going to walk you through how to be able to take actions leveraging the Real Method. And then, if you want more guidance, I invite you to take the What's Your Path Forward assessment. The What's Your Path Forward assessment is going to help you understand what stage you're currently in, what's influencing your sense of urgency, and what direction aligns with your current reality. It's not just about finding all the different pathways that are out there, all the different options that you could potentially take. It's about understanding how to identify the one that best suits you, the one that aligns with your current reality, because that's what matters most. It's not about what options are out there. It's about what you can actually do right now to fix your situation right now. So this isn't about committing it to a path. It's about getting orientated before pressure makes that decision for you. Here's what I'll leave you with. You don't need to become someone new to move forward. You need to recognize what you already have that creates value. And before you decide where to go, it helps to understand what you're bringing with you. I hope you found this helpful. If you have, like, share, and subscribe. This is episode 2 of the What's Your Path Forward series, and this has been covering natural abilities, how to be able to leverage the things that you already know how to be able to do so that you can start to calm that sense of urgency and panic and know that you actually have some things that will help you fix the situation that you currently find yourself in. I'll continue to walk you through the different ways of identifying your pathway and figuring out the best way to be able to customize it to your situation in this series. And then we'll go into the details of what the different pathways look like. Again, I hope you found this helpful. And if you have, continue on, and I will see you next time.